Well, good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Jenny Whitener, and I am thrilled to welcome you today to Organizational Design Roadmap, how to prioritize and align workplace of the future initiatives. So as we get started today, I just invite you to use the chat feature of Zoom to say hello and introduce yourself. So Alexandra, thank you so much for saying hello, and I see others starting to join in. Introduce yourself to our guest speaker today, Theresa Garcia. I know she would love to see your name there and your organization. So again, welcome to Organizational Design Roadmap. Let's get going. So welcome to the Bridge Innovate Inspire series. This series is brought to you by Bridge, where we invite extraordinary leaders from around the world to share insights, innovations, and inspiring stories to help us as leaders drive change in our organizations. We're thrilled to have you join us today and be a part of that community. Going on, we think about Bridge Innovate. We think of us in terms of what we believe, right? And how we partner with our clients. Integrity is really important to us, collective wisdom. We're big advocates of human-centered design as a competitive advantage in today's environment. We have a major practice in foresight, trying to anticipate disruptions and future trends to help our clients see those and react to those. And then, of course, beyond all of our for-profit work, we do have a major arm of our organization called Innovation for Good. And that is a bit of what we're doing today, whereas Theresa is volunteering her time as a leader on behalf of all of us to foster innovation for good. So welcome everyone to Bridge Innovate's Inspire series. Going on, it's my pleasure today to introduce you to Theresa Garcia. Theresa is the founder of Trust Leadership Growth LLC. She is an organizational design strategist and neuro leadership coach. I have to say that Theresa and I go back many years where we were both in the HR leadership team for Ernst & Young Consulting. And if there's one thing that I can say for Theresa, she's extraordinary. She not only knows intellectually all of the technical arena, but she is a master at managing organizational change in large, complex organization. And she's proven that with her track record. She advises Fortune 500 organizations around the globe to adapt and thrive in the post-pandemic economy by adjusting key organizational design factors and by coaching their leaders to build capability and agility while remaining aligned to their core values and unique offers. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Theresa and have her share with us her story today.
Thank you, Jenny. That was really a wonderful introduction. You have made my day. Welcome, everyone. So glad to have you join us. I'm going to work here with Luke, who is going to move my slides for me, right? So Luke, let's go ahead. Next. The first thing we want to jump into is technology. So let's try a quick practice using the Zoom chat. I want to make certain that we're having quite a bit of discussion here today. So please just use the chat feature, confirm that you are sending to everyone, so all panelists, all attendees, and type in your response to the question, in what one way is using Zoom helped you in your business or your employees this year? What's one way that Zoom has helped you? Zoom enables me to continue teaching entrepreneurship. Excellent. Facilitating corporate strategy. Good. Work collaboratively while working from home. Yep. See, all of these are examples. The reason I'm asking you this is these are all examples of the adaptations in organization design that you have already engaged in this crazy post-pandemic economy. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is adapting. How to adapt your organization design in order to continue to thrive in this post-pandemic economy, but do it in a way that stays true to your strategy and also true to the core of your business. So thank you for indulging us. Okay, more glue that keeps your team together. You're right, staying connected. Thank you. All right, Luke, next. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on four core topics. And the reason I do that is we only have a very limited time together today. And while organization design, connecting all the working pieces of an organization can be rather complex and involved, there are some core fundamentals that apply to every organization, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the 5 key factors that every organization needs to look at and potentially adapt in this post-pandemic economy. We're also going to look at some of the key trends that we're seeing right now, where the organizations are making the greatest adjustments. We're going to help you to clarify what needs to adapt in your own organization and give you some simple tools and processes and enablers to help you do that, because it can be very overwhelming. Next, Luke. Speaking of overwhelm, this data comes from the Conference Board, which I highly recommend for anyone looking for just unbiased research about what's going on in the economy. The Conference Board does not sell anything. It's not selling you consulting. It's just a research agency. So that's where I like to go to find out what's happening both domestically and globally. And what we're seeing are dramatic changes, right, to talent management practices, human resource practices, remote work versus on-site work versus some type of blended approach, the psychology and the impact that happens when some people can work remotely and others cannot. That's becoming huge. Shifts in benefits as a result of COVID. We're looking at things like other human capital strategy and organization restructures. Organizations are really taking a look now at their cultures. They're looking to see, are they able to adapt and attract the types of people, the skills and capabilities they need to win. And as you can see to the right there are quite a lot of adaptations occurring about, how much remote work can one handle? All of this depends upon your own company and its own capabilities and ability to adapt these changes. It all hinges the success on how well you connect these pieces together and see your organization truly as a system, an organic system that needs to work together holistically. Just as a pause, I'm using your chat. Are any of you dealing with any of these issues right now that you see on the screen? Culture shifts? Are you seeing culture shift? Great, right. That's exactly right. Diversity, inclusion, so much of that is coming in. So many Zooms. Your eyeballs are crossing. Yeah, hysterical. I think so too. Now that's a whole nother venture point. We could do an entire session, and maybe we will, Jenny, one time on just Zoom alone, right? The absolute need for innovation and potential tipping point moments. Oh, awesome. So see, there's a silver lining, right? All of these are challenges, but folks, this is one of the most exciting times to be in business, right? One of the absolutely most exciting times. It's seen as the 4th industrial revolution, particularly for knowledge workers. So exciting to be here. They'll be writing about this for years. Let's go ahead, Luke. Let's move to the next slide. So in dealing with organization design, one of the things that I'm always tasked to do is to analyze what's going on, right? What is the situation at hand? What needs to change? What needs to shift? And I have a whole diagnostic that we use. But given today, where we have a wealth of people from all different kinds of companies, all different types and sizes, in various stages of change, I was challenged to think of an analogy that everyone could relate to. So, inspired by a recent conversation with a healthcare client, I've chosen today to use this human sort of person to identify the importance of connecting dots in organization design. Let's test it out together. Give me your feedback afterward. I want to see if this will work. But essentially, the first place I always look when I'm helping an organization to analyze what needs to change is I first take a look at its mission, its vision, its revenue model, right? Its business model. How does it make money? And what are those core elements about it that are unique, that need to be maintained and supported so that they continue to make their competitive advantage? I also take a look at it to see, does it need to shift slightly as a result of the post-pandemic economy? Has anything shifted in their marketplace that would cause them to have to make adjustments to the way that they've been working in the past? So that head represents strategy. That's the first area that you want to look at. Does anything need to shift there from before the pandemic to afterward to allow you to continue to compete effectively? The next thing you want to do, Luke, let's pull us down to the little heart. Look really at your core activities, okay? What are your core activities? What are those ways that the work is flowing from one to another? Inputs in and around your organization to outputs. What are they? And does anything there need to shift to meet changing demands by your employees and changing demands of your customers or changing demands of your suppliers? Those are three that I look at immediately. The core processes, those connect all of the core activities with your strategy. And that's the glue. Those things are things that you can change very simply. Okay, what I'm talking about there are things like your operating rhythm, your meetings, the frequency of your meetings. How many Zoom meetings do you have? Who's in those Zoom meetings? Do you have to have everybody? What's the frequency of that? So those are things that can change relatively inexpensively right away. We also look at your core information and technology flow. Everyone's companies have, this is the area core, right? This is a little, I look at it like a little vertebra on a spine, right? This particular vertebra has been affected for everyone. As you can tell, just with the massive use of Zoom-like platforms, Teams, whatever, right? So the next area we'd look at, and as a little vertebrae on the spine of our person here, is job structure and the structure of your organization. What you need to understand about jobs there are two core important points. We call it in the industry socio-technical systems, meaning every job has a technical aspect to it, those capabilities and that your talent needs to have, and it has a human or a social component to it. And people need to feel belonging and connection. And that's what we're seeing pressure now with utilizing so many Zoom meetings. The technology is there. It's that connecting of the heart and the mind, right? With so much else going on for your employees that's being challenged. We can spend a day on that one too. That's for another session. The next of the 5 factors is leadership and talent. These things need to be looked at and evaluated to see whether or not they too need to shift. And for my clients, this leadership and talent one is definitely something that is being shifted. Leaders are being challenged because they have to be able to connect and inspire diverse peoples across distributed geographies, US, domestic, as well as abroad. They're having to connect people on multiple time zones using this medium. And if you're not trained on how best to engage people with different learning types using this medium, that can be very challenging for leaders. And on top of all that, so that's your spine, those are the 5 core, right? Think of them like vertebra. They have to connect with your mission and your vision, and they're all sitting on top of and must be aligned to the type of organization that you're in. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on that because this is an area that I see let many companies go awry. Go to the next. So this I'm showing you is called Competing Values Framework. Google it. It'll give you lots of information that will help your organization, but in its simplest form, there are 4 fundamental types of organizations, and they have 4 fundamental types of cultures. While, like human beings, while we all share the same pieces, hiring, talent, all of that kind of thing, the culture, or what you put first, what drives those organizations, will differ significantly depending upon the type of organization it is. So I say that to you because this is the one area that I find a number of organizations fall down. They look for benchmarks. What's working for one company must work for us, and that's not the truth. What's true here is, let's start as an example with the collaboration or the clan culture. This is all about working together, right? This is all about competing, and it's primarily internally focused, and change takes a long time. Change is slow. That's complete opposite is a market-based structure. And that market-based has to do with organizations that are serving external markets, right? They're serving customers on the outside. So they've got to be rapid, they got to be quick, and they have a lot of competition. And their cycle times on their products and services are really short. The other side, let's look at our hierarchical culture. These are like manufacturing companies, and they have very specific job categories, very specific, high authority, and it's all about controlling. And the opposite of that, up here in the green, this is where you're going to get your culture that has to do with services, right? So this is an area where people are not so constrained, but need to be able to connect with others. So think of the green as services, or professional services like HR, right? Or engineering, those functional type groups, those professions, completely different than building widgets. And so I know it's a lot, but the fundamentals are so important, because the way you choose to structure and redesign your organization has everything to do with lining them up to the right culture. Let's take a little test. Luke, let's move to the next slide. Little Zoom challenge here on chat. So based on what you just saw with those 4, what is your organization type? Yes, Jenny, yours is a service, correct. You're not making widgets, you are providing a service. Excellent. Jian, thank you. So your organization is a clan culture. Thank you for sharing that. And Clinton, services and market. Okay. So I bring this up, folks, because one of the most challenging with my Fortune 500 and above companies is the companies who have all 4 types in their organization. And then they attempt to develop people, make performance metrics, hire, create jobs that are designed for one and not for all. And that's how you suboptimize, and that's how you lose your talent. So Daniel says, I think there's a difference between what employees feel it to be and what customers see it is. Yes, absolutely, Daniel. And that's why what we're going to talk about here next, coming up shortly, is as you're making design changes, if you could just take a look at simplifying, what is the customer experience of this change? And what is my employee experience of this change? You know your businesses, you know them better than anyone else. So if you were simply to look at that and lay out, we have tools to use like journey maps and employee maps to be able to look at what is the experience of the change at hand. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this again comes from the conference board. When we look at this, this is what's keeping most leaders up at night, as we say. The conference board did a C-Suite challenge for 2021 and examined all of the issues that business leaders are currently saying are keeping them up at night. And these top ones are the top 5 internal strategies, right? External strategies, the top 5 internal areas of worry and concern. And then at the bottom, the human capital focus, particularly the shift in the kinds of skills that folks are looking for, it's not the technical skills, right? With all of the disruption occurring, we're looking for people and characteristics that are innovative thinking, right? An ability to execute without having to be told exactly how to do it. The ability to build trust across these kinds of platforms and diverse populations, and geographically diverse as well. And leadership, team leadership. So we are seeing a shift in what is expected of leaders, and also what is expected and needed of clients, of talent. Is anyone else on the call here sharing any of these concerns? Yes, Jenny, you're right about the pace of digital acceleration. It is chaotic. So Mary, what when you say yes, which one of these is a focus for your organization right now? Always missing out quality talent. So true, so true. Okay, let's move along. So when we look at our little guy here, our system, this organizational system, what we find is at the local level here, many of my clients, this is the area, think of these vertebrae at the bottom. What they're most challenged with has been increasing technology capabilities and expediting information system flow in order to enable workers to productively work both remotely and on site, right? Another area significant for the clients that I've talked with, many leaders are asking for help to lead and inspire remote workers. It's kind of difficult to do if you haven't done it before, or it's not in your sweet spot. So we're seeing a significant uptick in the number of companies that are investing in coaching their executive leaders to help them expand this shift, right? Invest in those leaders to help them to be able to grow and develop and inspire in this remote type of environment. And in fact, Denny, don't you have a coach coming up soon too, right? And we've got adapting talent management strategies to utilize different types of workers. What we're seeing now is, what is a worker? What is an employee? That continuum has expanded dramatically to include gig workers, right? Retirees working part-time, professional groups. So what makes an employee is now, that thought is now shifting, and they're moving to other ways of working, like project-based work. Excellent. Nomads. Yes, coaching and developing talent. Excellent. Thank you. All right, let's go on. So we have another question for you. And this question is, what is your top adaptation priority? Let's use the chat function. I'd love to know, are these 5 or these 3 at the bottom, these 3 little vertebrae, these priorities, do they align with yours, or are you experiencing something else? What's your top adaptation priority? Jenny, yeah, you're seeing a lot, aren't you, on digitizing the customer experience. Also, just a huge uptake in combining or connecting people using these collaborative forums, correct? Managing a hybrid remote on-site workforce. Yes, thank you, Deanne. Interestingly, it's also sparked, that work has also sparked a whole other psychological event that we're seeing as well. And that is, you know, the people who are lucky enough to be able to work remote versus the, I say lucky enough, right? But they can work remotely when the others can't. In some places, companies are experiencing almost like a 2-tier sense of double tiers, right? Those who can and those who can't. All right, let's move on. So at its most fundamental, what you have to do is you need to take your 5 factors. You need to identify what is their current state, like what do you are moving from, and what do you need to move to. And that gap will become the design principle, or the principle that you need to be able to evaluate against. Any of the decisions or adaptations that you're thinking about, it has to be able to achieve the gap that you've identified. And this is in its absolute simplest form. So again, today, with the limited amount of time we have, we just want to make certain you know you need to evaluate your current state and your future state, what you have to have done against those 5 factors. Luke, let's move on. Fortunately, folks, there are a number of tools and enablers to help you. You know, if you need help with aligning your leadership up here to the upper left, right, and create a strategic plan, there are a number of tools. And for one, as an example, is strategic foresight, right? To help you with your operating rhythm, you know, you need to be able to plan the changes that need to take place. And you need to do it in such a way where you're testing and evaluating as you go so that you don't tip over your organization. So what I've laid out here for you are some things that will help you to evaluate and to make the shift that you need to make, making certain that you're constantly aligning your leadership, upper left, constantly communicating with your people about what you're doing and why. You're looking at the skills that need to be changed. You're sharing or cascading those adaptations. And what we strongly recommend is using agile sprint planning. That seems to be the best thing to be doing right now with the rapidness of the change. Yep, there we go, like agile. All right, Luke, let's move on. So here are some great tools. I just pulled them up that are available to you. Right now, Bridge Innovate has strategic agility, right? Your foresight scouts. Think about the PESTLE is your environmental scan. You have a lot of help available to you. One of the things I strongly recommend is death by meeting, right? I don't know if any of you have read that, but it simplifies for leaders what's going on, you know, to simplify how many meetings you actually have. And then the value proposition canvas is a great tool. It's available to you. It's free on the internet. To help you think about your own personal and customer experience and employee experience. And then, of course, the Agile framework is available to you to help. And let's move on. So, Luke, did you move? Are we on to, yeah, there we go. So, I know it's a short amount of time, and that was a lot to cover, that brief element, but do we have any questions about that content? About what you heard or how it applies to you?
So Theresa, as people are kind of putting their questions into the chat, just want to say thank you. That was great. You took a very complex arena and broke it down into these major categories that are important for us to evaluate as we're moving towards organizational redesign. So one of the things I wanted to just ask is, you know, if you were to say, what's the most difficult part of taking a client through organizational redesign, how would you answer that?
I would say the most difficult part is that they are not aligning their changes to the core of the type of organization that they are. You really have to understand, are you a service company? Are you a product company? Are you building capability, right? Or are you market focused? Because that essence of who you are will drive the success of anything that you apply. And for my companies that have all four, they are really challenged because they try to use central functions to address all of the different ones. One of the best ways I've seen that handled is with Berkshire Hathaway, where they truly treat each of their different units in a separate way under a shared umbrella. So those are good lessons learned. It's out there, that's available. You all can do this.
Great. And I was going to say, are you seeing some organizations shift, right? So they might have been more focused on the market, but now they're kind of maturing, or vice versa. They're in services and they are needed to be more market responsive. I mean, do you see the pandemic, you know, asking them to question where they fit in that grid?
That's a great question, Jenny. Well, I've seen that with the larger corporations, the conglomerate type, the global ones, where product is not enough. They're having to expand into services, which has launched an entire, you know, as a whole cottage and industry and training in particular. I'm in Arizona. There's Arizona State University's Services Leadership Institute. Operating services is completely different than product. So in order to remain thriving and compete, I'm seeing these large companies having to expand their portfolio of business.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all the great insights today, Theresa, and for sharing with us those inspiring comments around organizational design. We want to thank all of our participants for joining us today. We have a lot of other great sessions coming up on our events page. Just check us out at bridgeinnovate.com and check out events. We've got Designing Change coming up, coaching circles coming up with Mary Axelson, our Foresight Scouts program, and we hope to see all of you again very soon. Have a great weekend. Bye
Bye,
now.
everyone. Have a great weekend.